Dzień dobry Państwu, witamy z drugiego dnia Forum Ekonomicznego w Krynicy ze strefy Wprost. Ze mną w studio kolejny gość, Reinier Schlatmann, szef Philipsa na Europę Środkową i Wschodnią. Maybe we can switch into English now. So my first guest is Reinier Schlatmann, CEO of Philips for Central and Eastern Europe. Pleasure to have you here, sir. Thank you for your time.
Great for being here.
Maybe we can begin to explain to our viewers something about Philips, because it is maybe associated with electronic equipment, so I know hair dryers or vacuum cleaners and so on. But as far as I know, you made a huge step forward and tried to engage in other business, so medical business, healthcare business. So maybe you can explain what Philips is doing in Poland right now.
Absolutely. Yes, well, Philips is a company of about 128 years old with a long history. And it all started in lighting. And over time, the company developed into semiconductors, large volume electronics, healthcare, components. But indeed, about 10-15 years ago, the company decided to really focus on health and well-being, as the large trend in the world, aging population, a rise of chronic diseases really ask for fundamental changes in how we do things. So the company started to focus, and these days indeed we're active in healthcare and in wellness.
Okay. I've read your report, annual report that you prepare, so Future Health Index, and for the first time Poland was mentioned in this report. It says a little bit about the digitalization of healthcare, and maybe you can tell us a few words about some results of this report and how would you assess Poland in comparison to other countries that took part in this research, in this report.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Future Health Index, exactly, it's the 4th edition, but this year, and we're very proud that Poland is now part of that, and it compares basically the state of development of the healthcare system and digitization across 15 large countries. Now, if you look at the report, there's some very interesting findings. For instance, if you look at the people that have access to medical records, do they want to share it with their medical professionals? So first of all, 80% of people have actually access to their health records, which is about 20% higher than the average of the 15 countries, which is really impressive. Yeah. And then of that group, about 2/3 is very interested to share it with their doctors. And sharing information across different care settings is absolutely critical in developing effective healthcare, because then the doctor has all the information he or she needs to make the best diagnosis.
You've been CEO of Philips for Central and Eastern Europe since 2016. Before that, you have been CEO for Middle East. Maybe you can tell something about Polish market. Is it special? Is it unique in comparison to other countries? Maybe a few characteristics that make us unique, or based on your observations, on your experience.
Yeah, well, so I've been here now 3 years, and I have to say that I'm extremely impressed with what I see in the Polish market. Already in those 3 years, a lot of developments has taken place. We're very active in this market. We work together with 9 reference centers to develop really the latest technologies. It's all about the close cooperation between, in my mind, the government, companies, and also academia. So we work together, for instance, with the Medical University in Łódź. We work together with, and that's a recently signed agreement with the Oncology Center of Warsaw. And we're really looking at developing the latest innovations in the area of oncology, and in particular focusing on precision medicine, as oncology is a very complex disease. And if you have the right data there in the diagnosis phase, but also in the progression of that disease, you can really make a big impact. So we work together with them on precision medicine. We also look at value-based care. So how can we apply that data to make sure that health outcomes are improved, satisfaction of patients is increased, but also of staff, and at the same time we do that, or try to do that at a lower cost. Now, and then the third area that we focus on is then how do we apply artificial intelligence? Because these days the amount of data that is being generated by diagnostic imaging, by different sources is enormous. But how do you use that data for the benefit of the patient, but also for the benefit of healthcare? because you can imagine that if you start analyzing a large group of patients, you can start identifying which treatment methods are effective and which are not. It can even help with, for instance, supporting in clinical trials to make sure that the treatments you do are most effective.
Mm-hmm. Based on your report, so Future Health Index, 83% of Polish patients want to have a constant access, digital access to up-to-date medical data. They want to have it, but I think that they cannot have it. And is it difficult to make Polish healthcare digital? How would you assess it? Are there any problems, obstacles that are on your way to digitalize Polish healthcare?
Well, if I look at the report, what you see is that actually Poland comes out quite strong. If you look, for instance, at Polish healthcare professionals, I think it's close to 80% of Polish doctors that use at least one type of telehealth solution or digital solution in their practice. If you look at the patients that do not have access, they really would like to have access. So that's very strong. Also, if you look at the large hospitals, doctors are sharing the data of patients within their institutions. However, an area where we still see a little bit lower scores versus the other markets we looked at is that sharing it outside of institutions, that's more difficult, and that's where interoperability, but also data security comes in.
There is still a lot of paperwork, I think.
Well, that's another area. It is the standardization of data. That's, by the way, not a problem in Poland. I think that's in general in healthcare, is that data is still kept in non-standard records. And therefore, if you even are able to share the data, it's not so comparable. So an important step to take is standardization of data, because then you can make it comparable, and then it's much easier to turn that data into valuable insights that can be used to treat patients better.
Outlooks for the future. You can tell something about Polish healthcare in 10 years or 20 years. Will it change, and will you make it digital in some period of time?
Well, I think we already see an enormous change happening today. I think if I just compare the last 3 years, you see enormous progress. If you look also how the Ministry of Health is looking at healthcare and how they're driving towards value-based care, focusing on outcomes over activity, looking at how do you reimburse healthcare, the progress is enormous. In addition, I think Poland has a very highly educated workforce, which is of course a key element to making steps. Now, in the report it shows that there's also an enormous openness to applying digital technologies. For instance, more than 60% of people feel comfortable using AI in patient monitoring. That's a very high number. So there's a lot of key enablers there. If I would think 10 years ahead, I think that what you will see is that more medical data is digitized, but also much more exchange between care settings. Because today, if you are a patient, you first go to the GP and then later to a hospital, and maybe you move cities or you go to a different hospital. Typically, the data stays in that location. But if you could exchange the data between those institutions and then use that insight, because if a doctor would have all that data in front of him about that patient, so the history, the opportunities are enormous. So I think the use of data will increase. Also, the amount of monitoring that takes place will increase. I think most of the smartwatches we have today is already more and more including medical data. Now it of course has to become medical grade, but in 10 years time, I mean, this development is fast, so I'm sure that will really help. So I'm extremely positive about the future in that sense.
Cool. Thank you. Fingers crossed for in Poland.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for conversation. Moim Państwa gościem był Reinier Schlatmann, prezes Philipsa na centralną i wschodnią Europę. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, and good luck today with all the other